All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I believe we got everybody introduced that are on here right now. There might be some people joining later, and I'll try to remember to check back and let them in as we go, but I don't want to hold you all too much because I know you're excited about learning about how you can use Zoom to make money using payment gateways and to sell and generate some funds using some of the content that you all are able to produce because that's the way the economy is going these days. A lot of people have to take their business online. Whether it's a business or nonprofit, they have to take it online now because that's the best way to connect. And that doesn't mean that you have to stop making money. And I hate to see a lot of businesses and organizations lose because of that, right? So I am going to share some notes or first, let me share a few housekeeping items, right? First, during this meeting, right, there's only a few of us on, but if more continue to join, you'll want to make sure that you close all tabs in your browser because I don't know if you're like me, but I'll have like 20 tabs open, multitasking at the same time. And that might slow down the quality of the video and the audio. So if that's what you're doing right now and you're on your computer and you have multiple tabs open with this, playing in the browser or in the background in the client, you'll want to close those down or minimize them so that your computer isn't doing too much and it can focus on this presentation. And then you also want to mute your mics when someone else is speaking, just to make sure that everyone can be heard clearly when they're speaking one at a time, unless you're asked by the host or me to speak. And of course, I want everybody to engage in chat. I'm going to engage you in chat, especially while you're muted, because I want to make sure that you're capturing some of the content, that you're hearing me well, and that you're seeing what I'm showing. So stay engaged in chat. You can network in chat. You can get to know one another. You can share your business cards. You can upload images and flyers. So just start making connections wherever you can. Like I said, there's about half dozen of us on here right now, and there may be more joining, but that's still 2 or 3 more connections that you didn't have before in Jacksonville, in Georgia, and in Tallahassee. So let's continue to stay engaged. And this meeting will be recorded and it will be broadcasted live to our Acceleration Nation Facebook group. Acceleration Nation is an exclusive group that my company and I started. And it's a network of brand accelerators. It's business owners, it's content creators, it's people from all walks of life who are laser focused on growing their businesses and learning the skills and tools that they need to do so. And so they subscribe to this group for just 20 bucks a month, basically what you would pay for coffee every month, right? And they get access to these webinars that you pay for today. They get these for free, in addition to free guides, tools, resources, one-on-ones, Q&As, and just monthly, daily accountability to keep their business moving forward. So if you're interested in joining Acceleration Nation, let me know in the comments. Just type Acceleration Nation and I'll send you the info. But until then, I'm going to get started. So I want to make sure I don't need to backtrack a little bit. Is everyone here familiar with Zoom? Have you used Zoom before? Do you know what it is, what it does? Let me know in the chat, in the comments. Just say, I got Zoom, right? Type I got Zoom in the chat if you're familiar with Zoom. All right. All right. Laura said, just got it, still learning. I get it. I get it. So by now, it seems like everyone is pretty familiar with Zoom. Zoom is a video communications tool and software that can be used on just about every electronic device that has a screen and an internet connection. And this is kind of the direction that a lot of businesses and a lot of brands are going. And that's one of the reasons why Zoom is losing their minds right now, because they're trying to juggle all these different things and make sure that you have very secure video communications when you're working with them. But a lot of people didn't know, outside of the free account, right? If once you get a pro account or any other higher account, you can actually make money using Zoom. You can add a payment gateway where people have to pay to access your meetings and webinars, similar to what you went through for this process, right? There's a couple ways to do it, but I'm going to show you the official way first, and then I'm going to show you some ways to work around it, okay? So just in summary, some of the things that you'll learn today, you'll learn, of course, we talked about what is Zoom, but you're going to learn how to set up a paid event. It could be a webinar, it could be a meeting, it could be a training. It doesn't have to be a webinar. It could be a live performance that you're filming on video, right? But I'm going to show you how to set that up and the things and the steps you need to take to set it up. I'm going to show you how to enable the payment features And then I'm going to show you how to turn on fees for your event or your webinar. And then from there, you'll be able to learn how to view and manage registration details. And then if necessary, how to refund fees as the host. And then at the end, we'll exchange some ideas. You can stay on if you want to talk about some ideas that you have to host some paid online video events, so that you can walk away with the plan and feeling a little bit more confident about doing that. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump in. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go to zoom.com. That's got to be the place that I'm going to start because we're talking about Zoom. So here is kind of what Acceleration Nation looks like, right? So this is me, our live video that the members of Acceleration Nation get to see. We just recently dropped some new content there. Of course, there's some funny memes and laughs that we have, but I just dropped this new goal planner. That's pretty exciting, right? All right, so let's go to a new tab and we're gonna go to zoom.com, just for those who have not been there before. I need to move everyone's beautiful faces out the way so that I can see. All right, so now that we're here in Zoom, there's one thing to notice about setting up a paid event. You cannot do that with the free account on Zoom. You have to go to plans and pricing and opt into either the pro, business, or enterprise account in order to host webinars. Now, the free account does come with some great tools and features. However, Zoom does not allow payment integrations for free accounts. So you have to have the pro account. And once you add that to your cart, you'll want to scroll down and also add on the video webinar, right? Now, I would suggest starting out with the $40 a month for the 100 attendees, right? Because that gives you the ability to test it out, to try it out for the first few people that you have. For example, if it's $40, if you can get 4 people to register, you've doubled your investment. So it's a win-win, right? And then you can just continue to build on there with best practices, new tools, and marketing strategies to grow your event. So once you do that, you click the buy now button, it'll take you to checkout. But these are the 2 things that you need first to have that paid feature, right? So you're gonna need the pro plan or higher, and then add the webinar feature. Let's see, might be a question in the chat. Can you add that after you've purchased the pro plan? Correct, yes you can. That's exactly what I did, Laura. So that's a very good question and thank you for asking that. But yes, I added the webinar feature maybe a week or 2 after we created the how to use Zoom. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm probably going to do this a little bit more regularly, especially for my core group of Acceleration Nation members. And I went ahead and I added this webinar feature on my account, on my pro account. Okay. So does that answer your question? Yeah. All right, great. So once you've added that on there, right? You've got your pro plan. You'll want to start setting up the meeting, right? And here's a few things you can do to set up your first paid event. So once you have it, you'll want to come to your account. Actually, let me go to my account. All right, so I'm on my account. One of the first things that you'll want to do is set up the settings to be able to accept payments using webinars, right? Now to do that, you'll want to come to your settings, right? You'll see over here on the left side, there's some options. Under admin, you want to click account management. After you click account management, you want to scroll down to webinar settings. This is unlocked after you purchase that plan, that $40 plan, okay? So you'll click webinar settings. Now, here's a cool thing about your webinars. You can add branding on it. So you can add a default banner that'll be at the top, kind of like what you have on your Facebook page. And it's usually square, but most people prefer like a rectangular like banner. But the max width is 1280 by 1280 pixels. So you can custom design something like that in Canva and put it up there. The max file size is 1 megabyte. So you want to make sure that it's optimized for the web and not a super large file, right? Not large as in dimensions, but in size of the memory that it takes. So you can upload a banner and you can up your logo. So now people can access when they access your webinar, they'll be able to see, I don't have a, a banner made for this yet. So let me see. I'm gonna find something on my folder that I can use temporarily. Okay, so it has to be 1280, smaller than 1280 by 1280. So I'll come back to that because I don't know if I have anything. Well, my Facebook cover image should work. Yeah. All right, so there's my default banner, and then the logo has to be 600 pixels or less. So I'm going to upload my logo. And it has to be 600 pixels. So I'm looking over here at the file size to make sure that I upload a logo that is less than 600 pixels. So otherwise, it's not going to work. So I'm just going to use this one. All right, so there's my logo. And you can also change the theme as far as the colors for your webinar and the buttons that they choose. Of course, I love the color blue, so I'm going to use the color blue, but you can use custom color codes, right? So if I want to use my branded color blue, that color is 1584 EC. Right? So that's our branded B-EZ blue. So I've just changed the color of my buttons to that. So if you want to use Coca Orange, of course you can find orange on here, or you can put in the exact color hex code here. And then you click save, and then now you've got a branded webinar experience. Now, once you're setting up your webinar settings, there are a ton of specific settings that you can customize here, right? So we can start with the calendar invite. So this is when someone receives an invitation to the webinar via a calendar, you can customize what that looks like here. Now, this looks like Greek right now because it's written in another language. It's written in a conditional kind of web language. So you don't want to worry or touch anything that has special characters next to it. It's more of the text, the plain text that you see that you can edit. If you would like some additional assistance with this, it might be good to have someone who's a little bit more tech savvy play with this section. They can customize that calendar invite for you because this will be a universal computer language called C+. All right. And then you can customize the invite in attendee email. So in that email, it's the same thing. It says, hi there, you're invited to a, and then it says site name. That would be your branded name or your company's name, webinar. You can customize what that will say. It doesn't have to say webinar. You can change that to say event, right? So you can edit all these settings here as well. There's so many emails that you can edit. So you can invite panelists to your webinar or to your event. You can invite hosts to co-host the event using this email. You can invite registrants and using this attendee email. And then once registrants confirm or register and pay, you can choose this email to customize that confirmation email, right? So there are some defaults here. Some of these you might be able to edit after you create the event, but these are the default emails and notification settings for your webinar. Now, the most important thing to enable the payment feature that is defaulted by Zoom, right, is you want to come down here to require registration. So you'll click the edit button, make registration required. Now you can manually approve registrations. That means when someone pays and they register, you have to go and check their account and their registration to approve them before they can access the meeting information and receive a confirmation email. Now, if you do automatically approve, that means that they'll automatically get the meeting information in the meeting link to be able to log in and access the webinar or the event. Manually approve just basically adds an extra step in the process, okay? Now, I always click this notification because I do want to be notified whenever someone registers for my event or my webinar. So I'm always going to check this box. Now that's up to you if you want to do so. So same thing with the registration. You can require certain information from the registrants or from the attendees. So you may want to know what organization they're coming from, if their phone number is, city and state, and you can add custom questions as well. So yeah, I'm gonna check city and state, not country. Right, so you can set that as the default when these are created. Oh, and then yeah, you can add custom questions. So you can say, hey, what's your favorite color, right? You just add that as a new question there. All right, and then in that same area, you want to click this option, allow option to charge registration fee. This is where you begin to enable the payment feature for it, okay? So you're gonna check that and it's gonna take you to PayPal. Stand by, there was one question here, so I'm gonna answer that question before I move forward. Registrations, can this be flexible, i.e. donations? That's a good question. Let's find out, right? So we're gonna connect PayPal. Right now, I haven't connected my PayPal account yet. I wanted to do all this fresh so you all can see it for the first time as I'm doing it myself. So once you check the box to allow option to charge a registration fee, I'm going to click the connect to PayPal button, right? And it's going to take me to sign in to PayPal. And instructions are to connect the PayPal account to Zoom video communications. So I'm just going to enter in usually United States is at the top. I'm not sure why it's not this time. All right, now I'm going to sign. All right, so now we're at the permissions page where I have to allow Zoom to access my PayPal account to be able to provide and retrieve registration and customer information. So I'm going to agree and connect. And I've successfully connected Zoom to my PayPal account. And then I'm going to go back to Zoom video communications. So now I have enabled the payment feature. So now when I require payment for registration, people will go to PayPal, pay the fee, and then they will access the registration form, okay? So I'm gonna click save those changes. All right, so now that I've enabled the payment feature, everyone's seeing my screen, right? I just wanna make sure that I'm not talking to myself. Just type yes in the chat if you're seeing my screen and you saw all those steps, okay? All right. Promises says yes. Kathleen says yes. All right. So everyone saw those steps. So now that I've got my webinar or my payment registration settings set up, I can now schedule meetings and require a fee. So I'm going to click schedule a meeting, and then Kathleen will be able to explore and see if we can make what they pay flexible via donations. So promises just add a question that I anticipated. It says that is PayPal the only way to submit payment? So right now, that is the default way for people to accept payments from Zoom. That's the only payment integration that they have. But there's another way to set up the payment gateway, to set up a payment gateway. And I'll talk to you about that once we get a little bit further down. All right. All right, cool. So I'm gonna close my chat here. All right, so I'm gonna create a sample webinar / event. I typed in S for slash. Silly. All right, sample description, right? Whenever you have your event description, you want to put it there. We can schedule it for tomorrow at 12 p.m. That's fine. Registration required. So I'm going through and I'm checking all my options, right, to schedule this meeting. And then I'm going to click save. And it's going to create a registration link for me. But I'm going to come down here and then I'm going to click convert this meeting to a webinar. All right. Well, I should be able to. All right, so this is where you'll go to convert the meeting into a webinar, okay? So you'll click convert this meeting to a webinar, and I'm gonna share my notes with you because I always have a backup plan. And then there should be once you create a webinar, there's going to be a button over here that says My Webinars, right? And you're going to click that, and it's going to take you to a listing of your webinar. So let me start a new share of my notes here. So stand by so you can see what that looks like. I wish I had some lounge music. Let's see, how can I share this? All right, Tim, I'm trying to see how I can share my notes here with my screenshots. Because I went through these steps and I wanted to make sure that I shared it with you all. So I took some screenshots just in case. All right, there we go. Notes. There it is. All right, so to turn on feeds for your webinar, so you'll go to your Zoom portal and you'll navigate to the button where it says My Webinars. And from there, you'll be able to click on the topic that you have the webinar for, right? And so let's say it was a simple webinar, or we can call it mission brief, right? So once you click on the actual topic that says mission brief, or the topic or the name of your webinar, you'll see these settings here. And in those settings, you'll be able to edit the registration details here. All right, from the registration details, you'll click this button that says charge registration fee through PayPal. And that's when you can set the amount of what the registration fee will be. Now, I want to walk through that with you all, but unfortunately, Zoom has some kind of error where it's not approving my webinar feature, or it's not activating my webinar feature. Which is unfortunate. So we might have to circle back around on this. So to answer your question, Kathleen, I don't have an answer to that yet. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that and ask Zoom specifically if they can, if there's a flexible way that they can accept donations in place of a fixed registration fee. But right now, I would say that it may not be there yet, but the roundabout way to do it may work. For example, the way that I had you all register, I created a PayPal button in my PayPal account, and then I linked that button and I created a, in fact, let me go to that. I'll share that screen now. So that's a good segue. So this is what I just showed you is the way to create a paid event using Zoom, right? Where people cannot access the registration details until they go to Zoom and they click the Zoom link, and the Zoom link will take them to a PayPal payment gateway, right? There's a second way to do it that is not published on Zoom, and Zoom doesn't know about it, and it's a way to do it without having to add on the webinar feature. And that's the reason why Zoom doesn't teach this, because you don't need the webinar feature to do this, right? So I'm gonna share my screen to my PayPal account so y'all can see what that method is. And that will answer, this will also be a way to answer your question, Promises, because it doesn't have to be PayPal. You can do the same thing with other payment gateways like Cash App or Square, right? So I'm in my PayPal account and I'm gonna create a PayPal button. So I'm gonna click open. And I can create a PayPal or buy now button. Actually, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna create a donation button for you, Kathleen, just so you can be familiar with that process. So I'll click here and I'm gonna click the donate button, accept donations and contributions on the website. Um, One cool thing about PayPal is you can use your own button image. So you can create a custom image for a button that says donate to Coca. It can be orange and you can upload that here. But we're just going to use PayPal's button for now as a default. I have to enter my logo URL. I'm going to skip that. I don't want to put our logo in right now. But the purpose, we'll put in webinar or I'll put a Shakespeare performance. Right. I'm going to click continue. Any amount, right? Because you want it to be flexible for them to do it, or you can create packages, Kathleen. So you can put prepaid $100 package, a $250 package, right? But those are just suggested amount. But if you want to do any amount for it to be flexible by donations, you'll click that there. You'll click this button to enable recurring donations if you want them to subscribe, or if you want them to make an annual commitment. And you can come up with different partnership levels for that if you want. All right. So you'll choose here what information you want to get from the donors, like mailing addresses. We don't really need that for this purposes. Now, this is where you create the gateway, right? It says route donors back to your site. Now, after people complete their donation or their payment, if we did a PayPal payment button, and I can go through that really quickly after this, you'll want to route them to your Zoom page, your Zoom registration page, right? So if I come to my meetings, right? I'll come to this meeting here, how to make money using Zoom. Here's my registration link. I'm going to copy this link here, and then I'm going to come to my button. It says take donor to this URL once they complete donation. And I'm going to put that URL there, okay? That link there. So now, after they complete their payment, they're going to automatically go to the registration page where they could have registered for free, but because they didn't know what the exact link was, they couldn't access it until after they paid. Now you can do the same thing with Cash App. For example, promises. You can say, hey, send your payment here, and then I will send you this link to register. Does that make sense? So does that answer both of your questions? Okay. So promises says good. Kathleen says, great. All right. So yes. So now this is the way you can do it without having to pay for the webinar feature for Zoom. So this is for you as well, Laura. Again, that having that feature is not necessary. There's a workaround using this reroute option through your payment gateway, right? However, the webinar feature gives you access to a different set of tools, such as panelists, whole participant moderation, invitations. There's a whole set of webinar tools that you can use, and that's what the $40 a month for. So that's why this, the name of this training, this workshop today was how to make money using Zoom. It wasn't to how to make money using Zoom webinars, okay? Because there's plenty of ways that you can enable this, right? So is everyone familiar how to set up the payment gateway and how to enable payment so far? Type yes in the chat so I'll make sure that we at least covered that part before we move on. All right, good. So before you can make money on Zoom, you have to enable a payment gateway. And there's two ways to do it, just in review. The one way is to add on the webinar add-on from Zoom, and then set up enable the payment feature that way. And then the other way is to create a button in your payment gateway, such as PayPal, or you can use Stripe, where people go and pay via a link, right? So if I went and finished and to get the code, right, I can get the shareable URL, and this is the payment link that I'm going to send to people to make a payment before they register for the webinar. And once they register, they'll be redirected after the checkout to go to that screen. Now, a lot of people don't stand by or wait after they make their payment. They instantly close it, so they may miss the redirection. So you want to make sure that you automatically follow up with people once you see that notification in your PayPal account or whichever payment gateway that you have, to make sure that they got it, okay? Because you want to have a streamlined experience in doing so. So they should get a registration email or confirmation email or a redirect that'll take them to the registration page. And from the registration page, you can begin to capture their information using the registration form. All right, so now the next thing that I want to talk about is if someone registers and you need to issue a refund or manage their registration details. Okay. So I'm going to come to, let me see if there's a question. All right. So it was just a yes. All right. So I'm going to go back to my Zoom account, but I need to move this so I can get to it. All right. And then here I can access the registration settings. It says manage attendees. Can you all see this? Say attendees. Type attendees in the chat if you can see this. All right, so where it says manage attendees, I'm gonna come over here and click view, and that'll allow me to view the registration details. I can go to a specific individual and contact them there. Now, this registration email information, right? You can export it, right? In case you want to upload them to a email mailing list or do follow-ups, right? You can export this information into a CSV spreadsheet that you can add to a database later on. And so that'll be in account management over here on the left, and then you'll click reports. And there's multiple tabs, but I'm going to click meeting, right? So I'm going to choose a report, a reporting date. Let's start. Well, I guess most of my meetings are here, so I don't need to do that. But you can choose a reporting date, right? To log in, to pull up all the meetings that you've had within a month, within a week, or within a few days, right? And then you'll click this generate button. And you can have it generate the information in the report for all registrants, only approved ones or denied. So that way you can send them different messages if you need to segment the list. So I'm going to click continue. And that's going to take me here where I can generate a report. And then I can download it, right? So here's the meeting that we're having today, how to make money using Zoom. Then I can download this CSV report here and open it. And when I open it, it's going to show me a CSV spreadsheet of everyone's email addresses, phone numbers, all the information that are required in the registration form. But for all intents and purposes of privacy, I'm not going to share that screen because I don't know if everyone is comfortable with sharing the information right now. Okay, so I'm going to keep it moving forward. So that's how you manage registration details. You can print out reports and you can reuse them. Now, if someone registers and you need to refund them, you'll have to do that through PayPal, because PayPal was the payment gateway, so you have to refund them via your payment gateway. Same thing if you use another payment gateway like Square or Cash App, or I guess technically they're the same thing, or Stripe or Venmo. If you need to refund them, you have to do that through your payment gateway. However, if you cancel the event in Zoom, you still have to manually refund your people. It's not going to automatically refund them. You have to manually refund them because there's still an off chance that you might be able to reschedule the event later on. All right, so any questions so far? We've got about 10 minutes left. I estimated that we might be able to finish on time, but I want to take the next 10 minutes to talk about your ideas to host a paid event and to make sure that you feel a little bit more confident and strong about doing so. I'm going to unmute everyone, and if you have questions, you can go one at a time and go ahead and ask them. So I'll start with Kathleen.
Oh, thank you. This has been really helpful, Brian. Thank you so much. My question really has to do with kind of the quality of like a webinar meeting / because we're looking at this for performance also. When in these events, when we're setting them up, is there a way that you've learned to look at how we can set them up in some kind of like a really like the kind of the best produced way as possible? Lighting, sound, experience, because I'm looking at a kind of experiential, in a sense, like an experiential webinar, if that maybe makes sense at all. So when I look at that, especially in regards to working with artists, performances and things like that, we're really looking at something where, I mean, I know that there's backgrounds and things like that that we can use, but what would be your advice on that? And then could we set up, let's say, we hosted a series where I'd be bringing in different artists, like it was a Coca series. Have you ever done like a webinar or any kind of event where there's been kind of multiple players that would also end up getting paid out?
Mm-hmm.
And if the way that we could, as we monetize that, kind of set that up so individuals can get paid out instead of Coca getting paid out? I guess those are two different questions that I have.
Yeah, so I'll start with your first question. And the first question, if I remember correctly, was what's the best idea for setting up productions using video communications, online video communications?
Absolutely.
And so to answer that question, it's more about the equipment in that case and less the technology. And I'll say it from this perspective. I've seen people produce Zoom performances and shows and things like that using Zoom, and they had enterprise accounts and higher so that you don't see like the Zoom watermark at the bottom. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But what they would do is, instead of it being just from like my laptop, you know, video camera or whatever, they would have multiple devices that have connections to Zoom, and you can get multiple angles of the same experience, but you use your laptop on Zoom to manage which camera you're spotlighting. For example, I'm talking right now, right? But I can spotlight Laura right now. And right now, everyone who's watching on the Facebook Live page in our group sees Laura. So wave and say, hello, Laura. And not me. Likewise, I can go ahead and spotlight my video. So now that they know that I'm talking, right? So with that tool, you can choose which camera to spotlight and create this production, kind of like what you would do if you were watching TV. You know how they come like, or sports, right? There's a news broadcaster who's saying, hey, camera one, go, right? So you would need someone to actually produce that using those video cameras, microphones, tools, and of course, lighting is going to be key for everything, because you don't want lighting that's going to be facing the camera, but facing the subject, first of all. And then secondly, when you're using video, you want to create some depth. So if it's going to be on a stage, that's great because there's some distance between the actual performance and the back of the stage. And what that does is the lighting. So if I turn the light off in the room, the lighting is focused on me and my face. But since the wall is right behind me, it's creating a reflection that's going back into the camera. But if I push my desk out further away from the wall and put a painting back here, it's going to create this nice, dark, intimate effect that's going to be really, really nice for performances and make it a little bit more dramatic, right?
Yeah.
So that's the answer to the production question. The second question about payouts. So it would depend on, for example, if I think the more people who need to be paid out for an event, for one event, begins to complicate it, because what you end up needing to do is to have a fiduciary authority. So, and that might have to be COCA, where if 200 people register to see 3 different performances, it's going to have to go to one payment account, and then that account is then dispersed that way through a fiduciary authority. And so that's the way I would recommend doing it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, Lord, your turn. You have any questions or ideas?
Let me make sure I'm unmuted. No, I'm unmuted. Good. No, I mean, I think following up a lot on what Kathleen was asking about, and we've already looked into the lighting and all of those things because we're looking to have multiple players for one evening of performances, Shakespeare performances and scenes. And so how is it that we could manage that again across multiple users? So we're venturing into, again, a whole new world that none of us are really accustomed to or familiar with. And so I think it's all of us kind of figuring out both the technology, the production end of it, and then how is it that ultimately when it does go live, how is it that we all come together in a way that does look, you know, has the highest production value is really what we're going for. You had mentioned ways to get around webinar, and I'm not sure I fully understand that. Is there a way to, you set up the payment gateway and then like link to a Facebook Live event separate from, is that what you were talking about? Okay.
Correct. Yeah, because the webinar is for the real value in the webinar add-on is not in the payment gateway. It's in the add-on features for the webinar. For example, you can drop in offers that people can click on and go pay in the middle of the webinar. They can ask questions. It just comes with a new set of meeting controls that you can test out if you get it. And that's really the value in it, right? Both pre-meeting and during meeting controls. The payment gateway is a new, it just got, it's a new integration for Zoom, right?
Right.
but it doesn't have to be integrated for it to work. And
Right.
that's more of what I was saying, is that you can charge a fee without without having to use Zoom's webinar add-on to do so.
Okay. I
Yeah.
got all of that then. That makes sense. Thank
Yep.
you.
Yep.
This has been very helpful. I just want to say.
Great. Great.
Thank
So, and then I guess the biggest challenge is people aren't sure, like a lot of people are paying for the webinar add-on because they want to add a payment gateway. And that's the reason why I'm doing this, is that you could save so much money
Yeah.
just keeping the way it is. Now, I'm actually going to host some webinars, right? And that's why I paid for it. And that's why I'm really surprised that it's not activated, that I couldn't activate it just now doing this example. But I think you all still got the point. So I don't think there was any value lost in that. But nevertheless, the webinars are, that webinars feature are specifically good for exactly that, webinars. Now, when it comes to events and stuff that you're doing, I think having a pro account, setting up the payment gateway, and then having enough cameras to cover the angles is sufficient enough for what you want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then I guess for your ideas of doing productions and stuff, I would say Amazon has some good stuff right now, and the prices are going down on Amazon because people are buying more on Amazon.
Right.
My wife is an Amazon affiliate, so I can have her look up some things and share some links with you and Kathleen of some things I might suggest for that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Promises, did you have any questions? I know that you got a few things going on today, but I wanted to make sure that I gave you an opportunity to ask any questions that you have.
Actually, no questions. Kathleen and Laura pretty much had the questions that answered my questions. So that covered all bases. So that was great, ladies. Thank you so much. But I do feel like it's a great tool to use because we are still very new to Zoom, even though we've been going through it with school and having to have meetings and
Yeah.
everything. So just seeing this is another side of it is actually great because with our organization, excuse me, having to do group meetings is going to be a big thing for us. So that's going to be good, and not having to worry about how we're going to sit and have these councils and
Yeah.
figure out what's what. So it's basically giving me a good overview of everything because I did not know any of this. So it's very good and meaty information. So thank you very much.
Good. And then in your role as a counselor, Promises, one thing that is also helpful is if you have a CRM that has booking links, that when people book you, it'll share your meeting link for them. For example, I have Visita. So when people book consultations with me, it'll generate a new meeting link and password for that specific appointment. So, and they can't access it until they pay for it yet. So that's another way that you can make money using Zoom. And I can share the link to my CRM with you. I paid $29 a month for that. But again, that's one new client would pay off my investment for that. For you, it might be something different, as a counselor and doing mental health and working in reentry. There might be other tools, but for me, this has been working just fine. And that tool itself has the integration with Zoom to create customized new meeting links for every new meeting. So that way, and I don't know if you all knew this, but there's been situations where people, if you have an open meeting, and I'll advise you on this now, if you have an open meeting room, right, and you don't require a password or you don't generate a new meeting link, there's a chance that other people can access your meeting link if you put it out there publicly, right? And they'll jump on a meeting and they'll say and do inappropriate things to disrupt your experience. So the fact that you working with tools that have integrations to create new meeting links and passwords is going to ensure that you have a secure meeting and there won't be too many issues.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yep. All right. So that's all I have for today. Again, I'm available if y'all have any ideas that you want to bounce off me. I'll follow up with Kathleen and Laura with links to some ideas for camera equipment because I would be really excited about seeing things like that. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people in the area and even the region. I think for me, this could be transformative for both of your organizations because now it gives you the ability to go beyond Tallahassee, right? Because now you can get people around the world to tune in and watch your performances, and it doesn't have to be just here. Not taking away from Tallahassee, but I think it gives you an opportunity to really broaden your audience.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much. Really appreciate
so much, Brian.
You're
This is
welcome.
great. All right, have
All
a
right.
great rest of the day.
You too. And I have a live recording. So if you all would like the recording and go back and look on some things, just email me and I'll make sure you get access to it. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks again. Yep.
You're welcome. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye now.